Hi class, I'm Lisa Brownlee, and in this presentation I'm going to explore if using nutrition education for children can help them build a well-balanced meal on their own. I wanted to learn if using nutrition education can increase awareness on eating well-balanced meals for children around aged 10 to 12. I found some wonderful resources on the USDA's website and used their free curriculum to curate a quick lesson plan on the 5 food groups: fruits, vegetables, grains, proteins, and dairy. So factors leading to inequities in an American child's diets could include a lack of education. So with even my own 2 children, I know they haven't received any basic nutrition education at school or even at medical appointments. Misinformation, the constant advertising of highly processed and high sugar content foods can lead children to believe that they should be eating these foods. And the cost of food. So fast food restaurants and processed snacks are often cheaper to purchase and consume than higher quality, nutrient-dense foods like fresh fruits and vegetables. That's forcing lower income families to purchase these less nutritionally dense foods. So I developed an education session using the USDA's MyPlate resources and geared it towards 5th to 6th graders. I wanted to specifically increase the students' knowledge on how to build a well-balanced and nutritious meal. And I measured their knowledge by quizzing them on the makeup of a well-balanced meal using MyPlate prior to and after our education session. So here's the big outline. I highlighted the items that I'll show after I show a little bit of the video of our nutrition session. But I had the children fill out a MyPlate meal, and it's just the blank form with the segmented areas of the plate. And I asked them also to write down 3 foods in each of those 5 food groups without any assistance or knowledge prior to on MyPlate, at least not from me. And then we talked about the MyPlate diagram afterwards. We opened it up. I had a big diagram up on the wall and discussed the 5 food groups and how eating a variety of foods is important for our bodies to have energy, to be able to play, grow, learn, and stay healthy. We focused on vegetable subgroups and the difference between refined and whole grains. Finally, the students were asked to repeat filling out a blank MyPlate meal and name 3 foods in each of the 5 food groups without assistance. And that was, again, after we had done our education session. So here's a little clip from our 45-minute session today. But to start, I want you guys to fill out this MyPlate. This is not a quiz or test. You're not getting graded on this. I just want an assessment of where you are right now, and then I'm going to give you the exact same page when we end and see how much you learned. So this to just share with the group what you think it needs to be healthy. So what does one need to eat healthily? What do you think?
I think get everything on your plate.
What is everything on your plate?
That plate. Like all the grain, dairy, fruits, vegetables, and the protein.
I think that's a good answer. I might have flipped this over too soon. And I'm going to have you pick out one breakfast, and I want you to represent everything from the 5 food groups, please. You're going to do lunch, everything from the 5 food groups. Dinner, everything from the 5 food groups. Don't repeat anything, and try to find some things with some variety, okay? So I want you to be specific. Don't just say fruit. I want you to have a specific meal that you're making. Tell them.
All right.
Breakfast.
So I had scrambled eggs.
Okay.
Cheese.
Yep.
And I have the eggs, of course, and the ham.
Okay, that's the what? Fruit.
That's the protein. The cheese is, of course, the dairy. And then the vegetable is carrots on the side.
Okay.
And the fruit is apples on the side.
Great. So what about your whole grain?
Wait. 1 second. Oh, it was a bagel on the side as well.
Maybe a whole grain bagel?
Wait. And then the garlic powder, there's garlic powder and salt inside of it as well. Okay.
All right, well, that's lunch. Same sheet you got right before our quick little lesson. I want you guys to fill out everything from your MyPlate. I want you to name the 5 food groups and label them on your MyPlate. I want you to name 3 foods that go in each group, okay? So go ahead and write the groups up here.
This is a lot easier
and
now.
then name 3 foods from each group. So here's one example from one of the students I had in my class. It's particularly my favorite. I made it really clear to the kids that I didn't have any expectations of their prior to education session. So this one says that the 5 food groups are Italian, Indian, American, and healthy. I made it really clear as well that if they didn't know, they could write question marks or just say, I don't know. And then you can see that after education session for this same student, he was able to list the vegetable, the fruit, the grain, the protein, and the dairy on the MyPlate diagram. And then was also able to fill out for the most part, I think he just didn't have all of the 3 dairies. But again, was able to have 3 in each of these subgroups. This was actually my oldest son who was not supposed to be in the session, but I'll discuss that in a little bit when we get to some of the complications that I had with this little experiment. But he has a little bit more knowledge apparently. So a little older and a little bit more well-versed with nutrition, which is promising. And then this is my youngest son. Apologize, he's notorious for terrible handwriting. But yeah, not very familiar with all the food groups. And then in this after education session, was able to label out the fruits, the vegetables, the grain, the protein, and the dairy, and then give examples. We did discuss further, he wrote down here that they take the protein out of the refined grains. And we just discussed that it's a lot of the nutrients that are taken out. Here's another little exercise we did. If you saw it in the outline, I skimmed over this part, but we did have each kiddo go through and build their own MyPlate. I had someone do breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I asked them not to repeat any food groups, or not food groups, but foods from each food group. And they came up with some good stuff. If you just look at breakfast, this kiddo came up with scrambled eggs, putting cheese into their eggs with a bagel on the side. Protein was the ham that they added into the eggs as well. And they put carrots on there with a little bit of apple as their fruit. We did talk a little bit more about how we wanted half of our grains to be whole grains. So as they wrote these down, they did add on whole grains to some of these items. All right, so successes. All 3 of these students really seem to be interested in learning and creating their own meals. They all demonstrated the ability to build their own well-balanced meals after a 45-minute education session. So some of the challenges that I had was scheduling. I really wanted to try to get a group of about 10 kiddos. Was just having a hard time getting us all together. I did have a group of 6, and 3 of those kids canceled on the last minute. So I had included my 13-year-old, if you can see the video from our education session, just so I didn't have just 2 of those kiddos there. And then I think for ideas in the future, using a larger scale would be more beneficial, obviously, to spread the net wider. Thoughts of using a sports athletic team or an after-school program, even popping into a school curriculum, maybe a Girl Scout group. And I think using the resources that exist but are underutilized would be really amazing, because the USDA website actually has some awesome information on MyPlate, and it does a great job of making suggestions for how to grocery shop on a budget, meals that you can make if you're trying to introduce more fruits, more vegetables, more grains, more proteins. And while I know my session was a small sample, it would be hard to gain a larger group just based on my own experience from this. But perhaps we could require this in all American public school curriculum. Just a few hours a semester could make a potential huge difference in their future long-term health. Just getting those basic nutrition ideas and knowing how to well balance a plate to get some nutritionally dense foods in. I know there are also a lot of other factors involved in a child's diet, like who's purchasing the food at home, their income level, and then knowing what to do and actually implementing it are a different story. But I do know that hopefully if they have that knowledge given to them at a younger age, they could stick with it even if it doesn't even adapt until early adulthood. And if you're interested, this is the MyPlate resource. If you go to myplate.gov, tons of, like I said, information on how to eat on a budget, how to have different curriculums for different aged kids. I just found it a really helpful source if you're interested in any nutrition education for children. Thanks for watching.